Hello, we are live.
Awesome.
We are alive.
I can barely see the screen.
Check your pulse just to check that you are alive as
Yeah.
well as live.
Yeah.
It's always fun when you're starting a live stream and you never know the exact moment that you're going live. So, massive welcome. I think we should start off by introducing you. How does that sound?
Sure.
So, this is Jenny, and I'm going to let Jenny share a little bit about what she does, how she works with people, and some of the things that you find out when you're working with people about their well-being. Because this is a conversation
That's
all around well-being. That's a massive can of worms, isn't it? I know that's a massive can of worms.
Yeah. So I'm Jenny Lee Taylor. I have a business called Breathe and Be You, and I'm sitting here with the lovely Michelle in Being More Human, talking about well-being and the Being More Human well-being arm. And my specialty is working with the breath, people's breath. I'm a breathwork practitioner, and I work with people to clear everything from, people come to me with general anxiety, overwhelm, lack of life direction, pretty much anything you would go to a coach, say, person for.
Mm-hmm.
And my approach is a little different to that. And an interesting conversation I had recently with a person who is high achiever, really good at what they do, and was having trouble managing some anxiety day to day. And there's heaps of techniques with the breath to use to be able to come back to a state of calmness, so initiating the parasympathetic nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the interesting thing just about when we were about to leave was him talking about this underlying or baseline load of anxiety. And it got me thinking about how many people actually walk around with this baseline load of anything, and it just takes
But particularly about anxiety, I think. I think that's probably fairly common. If you were to ask people and people were being super honest at the time, I think you would find there is an awful lot of people that have a baseline level of anxiety.
And it's really interesting because as life happens, like in the last 12 to 18 months, for instance, a life event has happened and it just brings people's load level up, and on top of what they've maybe already accumulated over a lifetime of
when it brings your load level up too, sometimes it's like the last straw that you don't really notice, like it doesn't seem like a massive thing, but it's enough just to tip you over the edge or to push your system too far or to stop your homeostasis from, being there.
Absolutely. And that's where people go, oh, why the hell am I crying? For no particular reason, because I don't know, my child has just thrown something across the room in a tantrum, which they do all the time, but all of a sudden I'm having this really weird reaction
impacting you.
Yeah. So I kind of that's when people come to me and go, what is this thing?
So it's kind of like turning the dial down a bit, isn't it? So instead of operating at an 8 or a 9, you get to operate at a 2 or 3 or something like that. And I'd imagine with all those different breathing strategies, you have some favorites that you like to turn to.
Yeah, so my absolute favorite is conscious connected breathing, and that's actually something that you do to clear that baseline load level. It's actually taking a deep dive into who you really are, where all that's stored in your body, and really lowering that level. So when the spikes do come along, and you can use your breath to manage day to day through meditation or breathing exercises, you're not actually you're sort of flattening the curve. Yeah.
And how do you notice, like with people coming to you, what are the main sort of symptoms that people are showing when they come to you? Apart from anxiety, what else are you noticing that people are suffering from?
There's a lot of pain in people's bodies for no apparent reason.
So like a strange lower back pain or leg pain
or neck pain, or an underlying thing that niggles all the time, and they may have been to the doctor or sought medical attention and no one can figure out why, because a lot of emotion gets stored in the body, creating pain.
So just talk about that for a moment, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. You just kind of rattle that off, and it's definitely what I believe as well. But just expand on that a little bit in terms of how emotion can get especially unexpressed emotion,
Mm.
because I think that's what you're really talking about, isn't it?
Mm.
It gets
Yes.
caught.
Yeah, it gets caught. And you, as a massage therapist in your previous life, would know or would be able to feel in people's muscles
Very much
the
so.
tension and the held emotions in the body. And there's some great books on it. I mean, Louise Hay's a perfect one. Kristen Leal's just written a book about anatomy and how emotions held in your body. Ines Segal has written a book about this and what types of emotions get caught in what aspects of the body. I always listen to people speak as well, because that person's a pain in the neck, or she's a pain in the backside, or God, I feel like I'm overloaded, and
or people say like, oh, that would kill me if I did something like that, or those kinds of comments.
So thought is creative is a whole nother exercise and a whole nother discussion, but often when people are feeling overwhelmed and burdened by life, or burdened by the responsibility of life, they have a lot of shoulder pain. So in the breath,
literally, like they're carrying heavy things on their shoulders, and they don't have an avenue to express that.
Yeah, and they don't even know it's a thing.
No, they don't know it's a thing until it can be taken away.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in a breathwork session, we'd be breathing out burden and overwhelm and stress, and then invariably it comes to somewhere in their life where they've taken on the responsibility. It happens a lot with people who have had broken families, maybe, and the children inadvertently have taken responsibility for their parents breaking up.
Yeah.
That's a really common one. Or some other event in the life where, as children growing up, we tend to blame ourselves or something like that. And it's got nothing to do with whether the parenting has been a good parenting or not. It's just something that kids do because they love their parents.
So then let's draw there is some kind of link between the circumstances that you find yourself in and the level of well-being that you feel that you have.
Absolutely.
At any point in time.
Yeah.
And most people would say the more stressful circumstances, the more negative circumstances, then the less your well-being would be.
Yes. Yeah. Because all these outside stresses, they get hooked on something that's internally that you've been hanging on for a long time. There's what's his name? Michael Singer. He's got a great quote. He talks about allowing life to pass through you. And usually, when events, even like COVID, the last 2 years, there's a lot of angst and a lot of stuff has come up for people around, just seeing someone with a mask on, or people being triggered by various things. And what Michael Singer says is, if you clear yourself of all the things that you react to the world with,
so you don't have so many triggers anymore, so you can't be triggered.
You can allow life to pass through you, and
that's where surrender comes into play, which is what he's
trust
talking about.
and knowing yourself, I guess. So through this process of breath work, I think it's been my most valuable tool in really getting to know myself as a person, and being conscious all the time of how I am in the world, how I'm relating to the world, how I'm reacting to the world. And it's improved my relationships, it's improved my way of thinking, it's given me more resilience on how
you feel calmer, and you feel more connected to yourself,
and grounded,
and much more grounded, and you feel able to respond instead of constantly being in reactive mode. I think that's some of the benefits around being able to manage your well-being and being able to manage your thought process so that your well-being is better than it otherwise could be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what we think about those external circumstances is far, far more important than actually what those external circumstances are.
And our brain loves to make up stories.
Yes, our brain fills a gap.
Yeah.
If there's no information there, or if there's nothing that we've been told about something, we fill in the gaps.
That's right. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and my intention for that conversation was a really loving, generous one, yet the other person was a bit standoffish, and I said, what's happening here? And she says, oh, I feel like you're rejecting me, and I said, well, that's a great story. I said, it's actually not what I was actually intending, because I'm not that sort of person. And then later on, she realized that it was because of something that she had related to in the past, and realized that she was making up this story, didn't really understand.
And it wasn't connected to what went on at all.
Exactly.
And how often do we all do that,
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we're going to be having a pretty cool conversation on Thursday, on the 19th. And the link that is attached to this live stream is a link that allows you to jump in and be part of that conversation, be part of the webinar that we're going to be running on wellbeing. First of all, it's free.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Second of all, we're going to be talking with Garth and Susie Russell, who I'm going to be live streaming with later on tonight. So we're going to be talking to them.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about talking with them, because they've got they have Wellbeings and Co. And are just great facilitators and people speaking in the wellbeing space. So we have
it's going to be super exciting. I'm looking forward to it. What are some of the things that you'd like to cover on Thursday night to encourage people to come along and have a listen?
Well, for me, wellbeing isn't something that you do. It's something that you are and something you become. It's like a way of life. And it's really giving yourself permission to honour the person that you are and to get the best out of where you want to go with life. I mean, the message I have is that if you're going to live a long life, why not make it well? Why not make it as fruitful as you can? And at the age of 105, you're still walking around with all your faculties and both your knees and your hips,
exactly, and all your essential bits.
All your essential bits. Gone are the days where people are, the expected lifespan is 50. We're looking at up in the 80s and 90s now. So why not make it a quality 90 years rather than
absolutely. Yeah. That though, to let people know, if you would like to come along to the conversation on Thursday, we're also going to be having some practical tips of things that you can do and strategies that you can implement in your own world. It's going to be an hour long, the conversation. So we want you to be able to maybe hear about concepts you haven't heard about before, remind you of things that maybe that you've forgotten, and then thirdly, give you some really practical take-homes so that by the time you leave that 1 hour conversation, you can go back into your world and make it different, do something that's different, take some different kind of action, improve your life in some way. So that's kind of
and get the why behind it, because often we get told to eat well, sleep well, exercise, but what does that really mean if you don't? And what does that actually mean if you do?
And I think one of the challenges with well-being is the negative side effects of poor well-being take a little while to show up. They're not instant. So it's not like we wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I've got terrible well-being. It sneaks up on us, and the aches and the pains and the complaints and the illness and the disease and whatever happens progressively over a period of time. And so the learning from me around that is that the resolution to how we want to live well also needs to happen in the same way. It needs to be incremental. There needs to be steps that we take every day, action that we take every day that's slightly different to what we've done the day before to ensure that we have good well-being.
Daily doable habits.
Yes, daily doable habits. Yeah. So we would love to invite you along on November 19, and all the details are in the link right here in this live stream. You do need to register. If you're not going to be able to make the actual time, it's not a problem, because provided you register, you'll get the replay. So we would love it, and we will see you there.